Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story about one revolutionary instrument that basically split the music world right down the middle. It's all about how two completely different visions for the same machine ended up shaping, well, pretty much everything we listen to today.
So here's the big question, right? How on earth did one synthesizer in the early 1970s give birth to two musical worlds that couldn't be more different? One was all about that deep, human, funky soul, and the other was all about cold, clinical, robotic futurism. How did that happen?
Okay, so to really get this, we gotta meet the star of the show, the Moog synthesizer. Now, before the 70s, this thing was basically a super complex piece of lab equipment. But once artists got their hands on it, it became this incredible tool for building entirely new worlds of sound.
All right, let's jump right in with our first visionary. We're heading to America, where the one and only Stevie Wonder looked at this new machine not as something cold or strange, but as a powerful new way to crank up human expression to 11.
You know, during that legendary classic period of his, Stevie Wonder wasn't just using a Moog synthesizer. Oh no. He was using Tonto, the original new timbral orchestra. And trust me, this wasn't some little keyboard you stick in the corner. This thing was a room-sized beast of a synthesizer, and he used it to completely rewrite the rules of R&B and soul.
And for Stevie, that's exactly what this was all about. Pure, unadulterated expression. He said it himself. The instrument allowed him to directly express what was in his mind. It wasn't some technological barrier. It was a direct, unfiltered line from his musical brain straight to our ears.
So how did he do it? How did he make this machine sound so incredibly human? Well, he would meticulously layer sound on top of sound to create these rich, almost orchestral textures. He'd use the pitch bend wheel to make the synth slur its notes, kind of like a blues singer would. And the result? You got those iconic, thick, rubbery bass lines that just felt alive. It was funky, it was gritty, and it was so warm.
But while Stevie was busy injecting all the soul into the circuitry over in America, a totally different philosophy was taking shape across the Atlantic. Over in Germany, a band was looking at the very same instrument and seeing something else entirely.
And that brings us to Kraftwerk. These guys embrace the machine not as some extension of the human voice, but as a perfect, logical, and frankly beautiful system all on its own.
Kraftwerk didn't really see themselves as musicians in the traditional sense. They called themselves sound technicians, and on their huge breakthrough album, Autobahn, they used the Moog to strip music down to its mathematical core. They weren't trying to sound like a person, they were trying to sound like a daily commute, perfectly capturing that hypnotic, rhythmic pulse of an engine on the highway.
Their method was just a masterclass in absolute control. First, they'd build a simple, repetitive musical loop. Then, and this is key, they'd use sequencers to get rid of any human error, making the timing perfect. This is what created their signature, rigid, motoric rhythm. The whole goal wasn't for the man to control the machine, it was to merge the two into one single entity, the man-machine. So there you have it, two radically different approaches using the exact same technology. One was all about chasing human imperfection, while the other was chasing machine-like perfection. Let's put them side by side to really see just how different they were. This table just lays it all out, crystal clear. I mean, look at the feel. Stevie's bass lines have that classic R&B swing, that behind-the-beat groove. Kraftwerk, rigidly on the grid, perfect timing. Now look at technique. Stevie's hands are all over the instrument, manually playing, bending pitches. Kraftwerk's using sequencers and triggers, and it all boils down to their core philosophy. Was the machine there to serve the human soul, or was the human there to serve the machine's logic?
Now here's the really wild part. These two opposing paths, they didn't just cancel each other out. In fact, their dual innovations ended up creating the future of music as we know it. They basically set the stage for decades of creativity.
Think about it. On one hand, Stevie Wonder proved that synthesizers could have soul. He completely paved the way for the synth funk of artists like Prince and the entire sound of modern electronic R&B. And at the exact same time, Kraftwerk proved that synths could be their own new language, laying the groundwork for literally all electronic dance music, from techno to synth-pop, you name it.
It's incredible, really. At the end of the day, both of them stood in front of the exact same wall of knobs, oscillators, and filters. But where one saw a tool to amplify the human heart, the other saw a tool to build a beautiful, logical, robotic world. And the crazy thing is, they were both right. This whole story is just a perfect example of how a single piece of technology can be pulled in two totally different directions by artists. And it really makes you wonder, What's the Moog synthesizer of our time? Is it AI? What tool exists today that's inspiring its own dueling philosophies, creating the artistic battlegrounds that are going to define the culture of tomorrow?